2024 has been the most that I have paid attention to just general music industry, music fan news in a really, really long time. I've been kind of vocal about this, but I would say starting around 2011 to about 2021-ish, I did not really listen to recent music. I was listening backwards a lot, or yeah, I mean, that was pretty much what I was doing. So I'm not sure if this is just me finally figuring out what it's like to be tapped in, or if 2024 was just a crazy year for music. We've seen some artists have an incredible year, finally overcoming the hurdle that is having viral success and proving that you deserve to be a mainstay in the music industry. And we've also seen some pretty entertaining falls from grace. So when I got my Apple Music replay this year, I was expecting to see some changes. There was one really, really, really big change, at least for me, that um, was looming throughout the entire year. I already knew it was coming, but it was kind of crazy to see the numbers behind it. So with that, let's get into my year of music in 2024. Starting with my top 10 albums. Number 10, Inner Visions by Stevie Wonder. Number 9, Dakota by Dakota. And number 8, Music of My Mind by Stevie Wonder. Don't need to keep saying it, I'm a pretty big Stevie Wonder fan. You'll see him a lot in my Apple Music replay. Both these albums were in my top 10 last year. They're not going anywhere. But Dakota is actually a chamber music collective in New York. I actually reviewed this album this year, and it's pretty rare that I keep listening to things that I review afterwards. Not that I don't like them, but I just am very slow to incorporate new music in my rotation. But there were a couple pieces on this album that really stuck out to me. I will link my review in the description if you want to read it and if you want to see which pieces stood out to me. Number 7, Megan Act 1 by Megan Thee Stallion. Like I said before, I'm kind of slow to incorporate new music into my rotation, so there are a couple songs that are doing the heavy lifting for this album to be in my top 10. We'll get into those later when we get into my top 10 songs. But overall, I liked the album. It's the first Megan Thee Stallion album that I have listened to all the way through. And we'll get more into Megan Thee Stallion a little bit later in the video. Number 6, Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants and Talking Book, both by Stevie Wonder. Again, both of my top 10 last year. Like, we don't need to talk too much about that. Number 4, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street by Stephen Sondheim. If you know me, you know that I love Sweeney Todd. I still have not seen the actual musical in person, but the movie soundtrack I really, really love. And it actually randomly crept back into my rotation this year. And also pretty late. I'm surprised it got this high. But I watched the episode of The Office where Andy does Sweeney Todd at community theater. And it reminded me of the movie, and I was like, I literally must watch the movie. And then, of course, it reminded me of the soundtrack. And then I started listening to the soundtrack. The weird thing about me and musicals is that whenever I think about watching a musical, it usually seems so unappealing, but I've liked every single musical I've ever seen. So I don't understand what that is. I've seen Wicked, not the movie. I might go see the movie, we'll see. But I've seen Wicked, I've seen The Lion King, I've seen Hairspray. A lot of popular musicals, loved all of them. But for whatever reason, when I think about watching a musical, I'm like, it just seems so unappealing to me. I don't know why, but I've loved Sweeney Todd. Number 3, Fulfilling This First Finale by Stevie Wonder. Now, I will pull over on this Stevie Wonder album because it was the 50th anniversary of Fulfilling This First Finale, and I kind of dropped the ball. My favorite artist of all time, I did a 50th anniversary video for Talking Book in 2022. I did one for Inner Visions last year, and I did plan to do one for Fulfilling This First Finale this year, but this album, I mean, they're all a lot, but this one is really a lot. If you watch my Inner Visions video, then if you just know about Stevie Wonder lore, then you know that he got into a life-threatening car accident in 1973. And this is the first album that came out after that car accident. And there's a lot that I think demonstrates how he came out of that closer to God and just with a clearer sense of his own mortality. And I just felt like the task of making a video about this album was very, very daunting. It's still gonna happen. I literally must do it. Um, I don't know. I dropped the ball on it a little bit because talking about Stevie Wonder scares me. So, but I hope to get it out maybe next year. My number two album this year was my number one album last year, and that's Renaissance by Beyonce. I was actually very surprised to see this so high up in my top 10 because I don't remember listening to Renaissance all that much this year. I definitely have listened to it. I don't know. I feel like I remember listening to it all the way through like maybe twice. It is a kind of a long album, so maybe that was enough to boost it up. But it's not because I don't love the album. Like I said, it was my number one last year. I listened to it a lot, a lot, a lot. I went to the tour. I bought so much Renaissance merch. I literally made a video about all the Renaissance merch that I got. It was kind of a lot. But I feel like my time listening to Renaissance kind of paled in comparison to my number one album, which I'm sure you all can guess. It was Cowboy Carter by Beyonce. The response to Cowboy Carter is layered. It's pretty well known that Beyonce started creating this album as a response to the experience that she had at the Country Music Awards when she performed Daddy Lessons with the Chicks, and she did not feel welcome in that space. One of the core messages around this album is that despite the whole pop star image thing, that Beyonce has always been country. And if you look back at her career, especially early on in her career, in her Destiny's Child days, there are things that point to this. It's interesting because this whole idea of her being denied legitimacy in a country music space was repeated again when she released Cowboy Carter. You had country music radio stations refusing to play her singles on the air. You had her not being nominated for a country music award. And I feel like it really highlights a part of how we perceive genre because part of it is how we perceive the artist, how we perceive what they've done in the past, and how closely related what they're doing now is to that. Because Beyonce being a pop star should not preclude her from making country music, for wanting to be included in that space, especially considering, the fact that if you look at early on in her career, before she was sort of put through the pop star machine, there were a lot of country elements to at least her image in Destiny's Child because it was a bunch of girls from Houston, Texas. And there are other artists who have been put through the pop music machine and have firmly cemented themselves as huge pop stars who would not have a problem making a country album today. Obviously, Taylor Swift started off in country music, so there are a lot of people who already associate her with that. But then you also have some other people that are allowed to pivot. Prime example is Post Malone, who was on Beyonce's album, who is doing all kinds of country music shit now. Post Malone was on stage rapping for years, looking very musty. I know that has nothing to do with it, but I'm just saying. But when it came to him pivoting to country music, it seemed pretty seamless to me. I think with the image that the country music industry has displayed as the face of country music, the transition is easier for someone like Post Malone because it seems like he's moving, quote unquote, closer to what he's supposed to be, and someone like Beyonce would be moving, quote unquote, further. I also can't ignore the fact that it seems, at least on my side of the internet, there has been a bit of a turn of the tide against Beyonce a little bit. Not obviously, she's very successful and will continue to be, but I think as we get more and more into an open conversation about capitalism and how our favorite artists participate in that, I have definitely seen that as a topic of conversation as it pertains to Beyonce. And I think that all of this is sort of wrapped up in the release of Cowboy Carter this year. And this sentiment was reflected by mainstream media outlets as well. I think the only review that I read of Cowboy Carter was by Chris Richards, the pop music critic at the Washington Post, and it was scathing. I decided that I just wanted to enjoy the album because I ended up liking Cowboy Carter a lot more than I thought I was going to. It's not that I thought I wasn't going to like it, but I don't know. The jury's still out. I don't want to say that I like it more than Renaissance just because I've been able to sit with Renaissance more. And I've sat with Cowboy Carter a lot. I mean, I'm gonna tell y'all how many minutes of Beyonce I listened to this year. But I don't know. I really, really liked this album, and I'd be curious to know if the public sentiment was a little bit different. And around Beyonce right now, what would be the consensus on the album? I mean, obviously the album went number one, every Beyonce album ever has. But I do think that there was a lot more than just the music floating around in the discourse around Cowboy Carter, and that's not a bad thing. Moving on to my top 10 songs, number 10, Amen, number 9, American Requiem, and number 8, Desert Eagle, all by Beyonce from Cowboy Carter. Never in my life did I think that she was going to top Pray You Catch Me as her best album opener, but her and her team did it with American Requiem. I'm both surprised and not that this is not higher in my top 10, only because there are some songs that I like so much that I'm like, I can't even listen to this casually. Like, this needs to be a moment. I feel like American Requiem is one of those for me, for sure. I feel like Amen and Desert Eagle are just sort of there because that last like third of the album is my absolute favorite portion of the album. So I listen through like from Flamenco on. I listen to that a lot. So I feel like even though I mean I like both Amen and Desert Eagle, I don't think that they are really there because of themselves as individual songs. They're there because of the block of the album that they're in. Taking a quick break from Beyonce, number 7 is Both Ain't Shit by Megan Thee Stallion featuring Kyle Richh. This song was a bit of a sleeper on Megan's album for me. I remember listening to the whole album once through, having a couple standouts, and then having something kind of stuck in my head and going back to this song. I didn't initially go back to it when I first listened to it, but once I did, I play this song all the time. I had no idea who Kyle Richh is. I actually kind of still don't really know who he is. But I don't know, something about this song, it's just very, very good. And we're back to Beyonce for numbers 6, 5, and 4, Two Hands to Heaven, Tyrant, and Flamenco. Like I said, that last block of the album includes all of these songs. It's what I listen to the most. I do have to give a special shout out to Flamenco. Flamenco Hive Stand Up. I feel like there are just some songs that hit. Flamenco, like, I feel you. I get it. I get it. And for this next song, I need haters everywhere to stand up. We're talking about Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. I don't think I will ever forget where I was and what I was doing when I first heard this song. Let's rewind for a little bit. I have never been one to be interested in rap beefs. I could not tell you the details of a single rap beef besides this one. And my interest in this one came out of absolutely nowhere. I didn't even follow Kendrick Lamar on Twitter, but I was on my For You page and I saw his link to Euphoria. Mind you, I came in at Euphoria. You know, I hadn't even listened to like that. It wasn't on my radar. Listen to Euphoria, my jaw hit the fucking floor when he said, "When I see you stand by Sexy Red, I believe you see two bad bitches." I mean, before... I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that. But is it the braids? I can't, like, it was just too much. It was just too much. From then on, I was locked in, okay? I don't even want to see my screen time for that couple of days when all of this was coming out. You know, they was going tit for tat. Kendrick was clearly winning. Imagine my surprise when I get in from my walk and I see yet another track and I turn on and I hear that damn mustard beat. Important context, I am from Inglewood, California. I lived, okay? And I feel like, I mean, I did a whole video on this on my TikTok. It's actually, I think it's on this page too. Yes, literally, I think the video I posted before this, about why Not Like Us was so successful. So I'll do like a little link to it on the video. But as somebody from LA, as a fan of LA rap, I absolutely lived. I feel like West Coast rap can be a little misunderstood. It's like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And a lot of people, they don't, but I do, obviously. And to hear that beat that was so LA, to see people absolutely go crazy for it. I mean, that Saturday when I was driving through Inglewood, playing Not Like Us in the car, like, it was just amazing. Please watch my video on Not Like Us. It's quick. It's literally a TikTok. More on this later, but I just want to say LA to the world. And last but certainly not least, we have my top two songs, Riverdance and Sweet Honey Buckin' by Beyonce. If I could inject Sweet Honey Buckin' into my fucking veins, I would do it. Like, and a lot of people, their favorite part of the song is the bucking part. I literally cannot get enough of Sweet. Like, I constantly replay the first like 40 seconds of the song. Like, I love the whole thing, but it's that Riverdance just feels like, I don't know. It just, yeah. There are a lot of times when I listen to a Beyonce song and I'm like, I do not want to know love like that literally ever. But Riverdance is an exception to that. I'm like, this seems like sun on your skin, just, I don't know. It just does something to me. It gets in my bones. Before I get into my top 10 artists, I just want to say I had to modify this a little bit. There's an annoying thing about how they calculate your top 10 artists, which I understand, I guess, but when an artist does not do a feature, they do a artist and other artists, it counts it as a song for that other artist as well, even if they're not who you're primarily listening to. So because of that, Shabuzi and Dolly Parton were both in my top 10, even though I don't listen to any music by either of them outside of the songs that they have with Beyonce, mainly Tyrant, which was in my top 5, and Sweet Honey Buckin', which of course was my number 1 song. So I took both of them out and I moved the people who were in 11 and 12 up to reflect my true top 10 most listened to artists. Jumping back to the topic of LA rap, my number 10 most listened to artist was Rimble. Very, very LA. Probably not for everybody, but I just love Rimble. I think he's like, I don't know, his delivery is so, I don't even know how to describe it. It's so punchy. He enunciates everything. It's actually like hurts my jaw to rap along with Rimble sometimes. He's very like witty, just has all these punchlines that are just like kickers. I don't know. I just love him. Also, if you watch the Pop Out, the Juneteenth concert that Kendrick Lamar did, Rimble opened for him. I think he was the first person on stage. So, yeah. Number 9 is Glorilla. I was actually expecting Glorilla to come up in more places in my replay, but nevertheless, I'm glad that she's here. She's had an incredible year, and I think that her singles this year, her mixtape, her debut album, some of her performances, like she's just had a killer year, and she's really like proved that she deserves to be here. I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed with her, and I think she's just so fun. My number 8 most listened to artist is Emmanuel Wilkins, who's a jazz saxophonist. He came out with a new album this year that I actually haven't spent very much time with, but I usually spend a lot of time with his music every year. He's usually in my top like 3 or top 5. So he moved down a little bit this year, but yeah, incredible artist. I would absolutely recommend. Number 7 is Ice Spice. I know Ice Spice gets a lot of hate, but I think her music is fun. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, listen to Ice Spice, you know, taste, blah. Whatever. There's plenty of people in my top 10 that are, you know, legendary musicians, universally loved for the most part. And as somebody who has done music for a job literally always, I think it's important to understand that like some music is just to be fun. It's not always supposed to be deep. It's not always supposed to be this and moving and all that type of shit. Sometimes like you literally just want to turn up while you're getting ready, and that's what I see in Ice Spice's music. That's the value that I see in it. Yeah, I don't care if it's the best rap I've ever heard. I just think it's fun. But if you want proof that I listen to incredible rappers as well, my number 6 most listened to artist is Tyler, the Creator, who also has had an incredible year, has had an incredible run, period. I was an early Tyler, the Creator fan, which I know is not for the faint of heart. It's very difficult for me to listen to the songs that I used to love from Tyler, the Creator, from Bastard, from Goblin, I mean, Father God. It was a lot, but I feel like Tyler, the Creator is one of the rare artists that you can see has such a consistent evolution. He just keeps getting better and better and better with everything that he puts out. I have not listened to Chromacopia yet. I'm very slow on that. I can't take in so much at a time. But I have all the faith in the world in it. I think how he got up there, I think I probably been listening to a couple things still from Igor and from Call Me If You Get Lost. And yeah, Tyler the Creator is literally in the top like 3 artists that have changed my life the most. He's just very, very incredible, very, very passionate, loves this music shit. And it's just always a gift to listen to him and to listen to him talk about his art. That's one thing. Listen to him talk about his art. I think he is a wonderful transition into my top 5 because we're really getting into the big leagues. Number 5 is Jasmine Sullivan. I don't think I really realized how much I love Jasmine Sullivan until this year. Like, she's always been up there in my top 10, I would say. I've always listened to her music a lot, but I think just doing a lot more self-reflection this year, I think it opened me up to why I love her music so much. I think that she is just a wonderful storyteller when it comes to Black women and love, and especially when you look at something like Hotels, which is, I mean, literally storytelling and confessing, and just she just had so many people sort of bare their souls and all these different, I don't even want to say issues, but I mean, some of them were issues, experiences, outlooks on love. And she's just amazing. Like, it's like I've literally been listening to Jasmine Sullivan since her debut album, since Fearless. What was that, 2009, I think. And it really just hit me this year that I'm like, damn, she really speaking to me right now. Like, she really, really speaking to me. Now, going from a mainstay in my top 10 to a first ever appearance in Kendrick Lamar. Now, like I said, I loved Not Like Us, but I want to get a little bit more into Kendrick Lamar as an artist, and what this beef has really taught me about him. He's obviously a hometown hero. I'm not from Compton, I'm from Inglewood, but for LA as a whole. So I've been, of course, aware of Kendrick Lamar and all his big songs and things like that, but I was not a Kendrick Lamar listener before this year. I just, I had some of his songs in my library and would listen to some of them, but like, this is the most I've listened to Kendrick Lamar ever in my life. There's no real reason for that other than that big hiatus I took from listening to recent music. And I know a lot of people put Kendrick in that like conscious rap territory, which I can see some of the reasoning behind that, but I don't think I would fully put him there, especially because I do not like conscious rap. That's a whole other thing. But there may have been things that were not surprising to people who listened to him a lot throughout this beef, but there were for me as somebody that didn't know a whole lot about him. I think FD Signifier has a pretty good video unpacking the history, first of all, of Drake and Kendrick Lamar, and also the reasons why this beef was so gloves off. The I would say bigger and deeper cultural implications behind the beef and why Kendrick is so irked to his soul by someone like Drake. Um, but I feel like that kind of gave me a lot of respect for him because I understand these reasons behind why he was so irritated by Drake. I too have been quite irritated by Drake in this past year or so. Drake is another person that I know his big songs. I don't pay much attention to Drake on a regular basis. Obviously, I know he's very huge. He's also very talented. Can't take that away from him. But he's done some head ass shit in the past like couple of years, just being a weirdo. I mean, the whole thing with Megan Thee Stallion, who we will also get into later on in the video, with her situation with getting shot by Tory Lanez, and Drake putting that in a song. A lot of men in the rap world did her very, very dirty when it came to that situation. And Drake has this weird pattern of getting buddied up with women who are in the music industry and then like chewing them up and spitting them out and kicking them to the curb and being weird to them and throwing shots at them and all this weird shit. So when he took a shot at her saying that she was lying about getting shot, all this type of stuff, I'm just like, you're weird for that. he got a new accent every week. Why are you Jamaican today, and then you're Mexican the next day, and then you're Canadian that day? And I mean, he really is Canadian, but stay that you're Canadian. Like, and now you're from Atlanta, now you're from Houston, now you this, now you that. Like, please make a decision. And I feel like that is exactly what was his downfall when Kendrick came out with Not Like Us. Talked about that in my video, so I won't get into it, but yeah, Drake has been thoroughly irritating. And I could see from someone like Kendrick, who, I mean, first of all, was brought up in a very, very black enclave in Los Angeles, seems very, very rooted in the culture. To see someone like Drake come in and basically have a mask on this whole entire freaking time, and have all this success, I can see that irking him. And I also believe that Kendrick Lamar, as a celebrity, has seen a lot of shit that we are not even privy to, which he has alluded to on many of the songs in the battle. So I don't know. I don't know where this leaves me. I still have not listened to GNX. I will get there. It's on my list along with Chromacopia. But as you can see from my top 10 so far, we got Rumba, we got Tyler, we got Kendrick. It's a beautiful day to be from LA. Now I'm gonna just say it. This has been the year of Megan the freaking Stallion. 2024 has made such a huge Megan the Stallion fan out of me. Like, it's not even funny. Like, I was a marginal fan of Megan Thee Stallion in that I supported her. I liked her vibe. I followed her for a couple years before 2024. All that, I knew like some of her most popular songs. Not even that many of them though. Like, I knew what Savage. Can't even name that many, honestly. I knew like some of the titles of her big songs, but I want to say that this all really started with Cobra. And it's not even because I really love that song. I feel like that was the first inkling of the Megan Thee Stallion fan that I would become. When Cobra came out, it was an incredibly vulnerable song. As some of y'all might know, Megan Thee Stallion has lost both of her parents. She lost her grandmother shortly after losing her mother in a very traumatic way. And this song, she really like bared her soul. And I was just like, you know what? Even though I really don't even listen to that song very much, I haven't listened to it in a very long time. I remember buying the CD because just to support her. And also I wanted the CD booklet. But I just really felt for her for everything that she's been through. And the fact that she chose to be so vulnerable on that. And also I just think, I mean, her artistry, everything that she puts into her image, of course her team as well, but her image and her rollouts and stuff is like, there are just some people who are just different, and I think Meg is in that category. And then she came out with His, and His is what really did it for me, okay? Because who did she whack again? Aubrey. Posted in another nigga hood like a bad bitch. I can't. I lived. This is really what set off the whooping that Drake got in 2024, if we keeping it a bean. And how could I forget the freaking crash out that happened after that Megan's Law bar? I just, I lived. So by the time I had listened to His literally trillions of times, and the Megan album came out, I was like, I literally must listen to this in full. And that's, of course, how it ended up in my top 10, how Both Ain't Shit ended up in my top 10 songs as well. I'm surprised no other songs by Meg were in my top 10 because some other standouts on the album, of course, Mamushi, which actually had to grow on me a little bit. I don't really know that I was instantly into it. Actually, no. Mamushi I did like. Otaku Hot Girl was the one that had to grow on me a little bit. That one had to grow on me, but that also I think fed my love for Megan Thee Stallion, because I too am an otaku hot girl, or I aspire to be. I just love her aesthetic. I love just, yeah, she has such a clear place in the industry. Nobody's doing it like her. Nobody is like her, and I love that about her. Now, my number two must listen to artist was both surprising and not. I knew this was coming, but it was a big change for me. Um, every single year, my number one most listened to artist is exactly the same. No one has ever even come close to usurping Stevie Wonder as my number one most listened to artist. But when Cowboy Carter came out this year, I checked in on my listening habits and just reflected over what I was doing, and I was like, oh, something's gonna change. Something's gonna change. 2024, I listened to a whole lot of Beyonce. A whole lot of Beyonce. So that reflects in my top two most listened to artists this year. Number two is Stevie Wonder, and number one is Beyonce. Last year, they were both my top two most listened to artists, but of course they were switched, and the difference was some 3,000 odd minutes. Like I said, no one's ever come close to Stevie Wonder. So this is the first time ever he has not been my number one artist. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it's fine. I'm literally about to go see him live this week. Like, still love him. But I feel like the past like 2 years, ever since Renaissance came out, like it has taken my Beyonce fandom, I guess. I don't know what that, if that's even the correct word, but to the next level. Let's get into the actual amount of time I listened to these two artists for. What's interesting is that I was not just listening to Beyonce more, but I was also listening to Stevie Wonder less. I'm not going to read too much into that because I think it literally is just a trade off. The minutes that I was spending listening to Beyonce were the minutes that I would have been listening to Stevie. So Stevie Wonder comes in at 2,373 minutes for this year, which pales in comparison to Beyonce's 7,616 minutes. That 616 number is everywhere, ain't it? Aubrey can't catch a break. Period. Now, diving into my listening habits is very interesting, but honestly, this ending is the most important part of the video, the Song of the Year reveal. I started doing Song of the Year a couple years ago to really just pick a piece of music that spoke to the tone that I want to step into the new year with. I've had, I would say, varying degrees of success with implementing that. My 2024 Song of the Year was Be Like Water by PJ Morton featuring Stevie Wonder and Nas. I have to say, this is a song that I didn't even really listen to before 2024. I just randomly came across it and was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that one, especially because I was gonna do another Jasmine Sullivan song for the second year in a row, and I was like, well, maybe not for any reason, but I just wanted to mix it up. And it's funny because I listened to it a bit. Obviously, it didn't make my top 10, so not that much. But I actually had a moment a couple weeks ago when I was just about to crash out, and this song randomly came on, and it made me reel it back in. And I feel like that was exactly what it was supposed to do. I can be a little uptight. I could be, a little bit of a worrywart, and I think that this song was supposed to help me just remember, girl, let it go. You can't control everything. Some shit, you just gotta let it roll off of you. But going into 2025, it was really important to me to have a song of the year that was about action and happiness and winning and just moving forward rather than one that's just about keeping negative thoughts and feelings at bay. I feel like in 2024, just in my personal life and everything is finally on an upswing that I can recognize, that I'm in a better place mentally to recognize. And I wanted to look to 2025 as a time to thrive and not just survive. And for that reason, my 2025 Song of the Year is Bigger in Texas by Megan Thee Stallion. What better way to honor the Megan Thee Stallion fan that I have become than to make one of her songs my 2025 Song of the Year? It also gets Megan Act 2 into the mix, which did not show up in my replay just because I haven't listened to it that much. I listened to it when it first came out, but I still need to spend more time with it, and it came out not that long ago. But Bigger in Texas had me in a chokehold from jump. It's just amazing. Like, and it's just so refreshing especially after seeing Meg's documentary, to see the place that she's been able to get to. I know that I can't remember if it was, I think it was in an interview of hers, and she said, "I be going through shit, but I be getting through shit," and I feel like this is the other side of that, and that is literally my whole philosophy behind this whole Song of the Year choice. And there's just something that song represents and does to me, and how it makes me feel is how I want to feel literally every day in 2025. And I know that, that might not be possible, but we're going for most days. So, bigger Texas. So that was my 2024 in music. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Do we have anything in common? Are there things that I should be listening to that I am not listening to? And yeah, with that, thank you so much for watching. These are my social media handles. You can also click that bell icon so you can get notified every time I get off my butt and post a video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. So that was my entire 2024 in music. Let me know what you think down in the description. No, not in the description. You cannot edit that because it's my channel. So yeah, great, Delaney.